Oh, so hot.
1, 2, 3, got it.
Hi guys, welcome back to Synergy Studios. It's your favorite hosts, me, Mary.
And Mina.
It was the first time ever I think I've said it.
Yeah,
so,
you've opened it.
Yeah, there you go. We're getting there 1.5 year later. We're getting comfortable enough. So I am post shift and Didi is going to work.
Going to work, and I am in between 4 night shifts, and my first 2 night shifts have just been horrible.
She's midway
and
there,
horrible. I have not had the chance to go food shopping. I have not had the chance to eat well. I'm literally, most of my meals for the past 2 nights have been ramen.
Bro,
Instant
like, you
noodles.
could have told me. I was literally in Audi earlier and this is where I got my snacks. But anyhow, I haven't been eating well either. But my problem is socializing.
Now that's a surprise there.
That's a really
Not
surprise.
maybe not eating well and socializing. That's two of the surprises.
Tell me about how socially drained I am. I cannot wait for August so I can relax. Okay.
Oh my god. Talking about social battery, want to give a shout out to Nissan Bhai, apparently aka Panda. He kept repeating that to me while drunk inside inside the club. And it's like, one of your first subscribers, Nishan Panda. People call me Panda. I was like, okay, bye. But bless him.
Do I know this Nissan?
Apparently he's Ranju's cousin.
Oh, okay, I know him then. Yeah.
So I think he knows you as well. Yeah, but he was so sweet. I don't think I've ever spoken to him. I don't think I've ever met him before, but I think I know of him somehow.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, but he
Thank
was
you for the
super sweet. He and his friend, his friend didn't say his name because Nissan was like,
he was over introducing himself. I guess our audiences have the energy like we do as well.
Yeah. But you have strawberry in the teeth.
That's fine. That's the London look. I am wearing shorts, by the way, just in case you guys are wondering. It's just too hot to wear more clothes. I can't.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I'm quite conscious, like if it's there or not.
Gone.
Anyways, Mary socializing and not eating well is another equation. Interesting equation. But
that's supposed to be me.
Socializing. How? Like, honestly, the whole entire of July, I've attended so many weddings that I think I'm done for the year. So if you're planning to get married more...
Don't invite her.
Don't invite me, please. Anyhow,
yes.
Since you all liked our last podcast about our part 2 of sex toys, and we sort of jumped into this...
Sidetracked
as usual. Like, I actually just met my friend the other day and he's like, sidetracked answer. And I'm like, bro, like, you should have known that we've got like speaking ADHD sort of thing, like.
But the thing is, even though we sidetrack, but do you enjoy it though?
Exactly. Would you rather have a topic of this is Ram and all about Ram, or would you rather have like Ram's got friends called Sham and Sham got backstory as well, right?
We're not monotone. We're not a monotonous podcast. We're not a one-topic podcast.
I mean, there's 2 people for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or else we could have just like put it bullet points and then actually narrate it out from like an essay sort of style, who is as boring as you may. Let's not say boring, just like very educational, but not in a very casual way, very formal. These strawberries are nice, isn't
I know.
it?
I can't stop.
But I bought it
them.
30p off in Audi because that's Synergy's budget for you. Anyhow, so carrying on with that.
You need to stop saying anyhow.
Not anyhow as in HOE. Talking about that, we briefly went into our Nepalese parents not giving us any space. I think a lot of, not just Nepalese, like a lot of Asian communities can relate to that. And to be fair, some African community as well, like most of them, to be fair. So you can relate to us. I know you can. So we're here to elaborate more on that bandwagon shenanigans. So I'd like to talk about the guilt trip. Can we start there, please?
Yeah. Number one.
Number one. Number uno.
Yeah.
Like
especially when you're the generation that migrated here and or the first generation.
To be fair, any sort of guilt trip, they're just good at it. And it's so much ingrained in us. I never realized it until recently. I was talking to a friend, and then recently, because obviously you guys are aware that I'm dating. Well, I'm not at the minute, but you know, like recently a guy was told, I was like saying something, and then he was like, why did you got to guilt trip me for? Yeah. And it's weird because you think that's such a common thing because your friends do that as well. That's a learned
behavior from your community.
Like if my friends don't come to like a party that I invited, and I'm just like to them, oh, so now you all of a sudden you're not coming anymore. You know, I'm like bonsani like as a joke. Oh, nice. On the nice. The voice type. Okay. You think it's so casual, but now that you think of it, that's deep. It's actually deep and.
I think that was the past me.
Okay.
I think that was the past me when I probably used to care too much and also be offended by tiny things, I guess. But I think once you start getting comfortable in yourself and in your company and what you do, and once you start not needing people, I think you realize that it also comes with learning how to respect somebody else's time, somebody else's space. And if somebody can't make it, if somebody can't make it for genuine reason, you respect that. If somebody doesn't make it because they're not bothered to, you also respect that. It's like
I'm the one who cancels a lot of things because of my anxiety issues, you know. But you know, like I have very self-deprecating humor. My humor is like, to be honest, if you didn't get my humor, you really think I'm serious, okay? I know. And as a joke, I'm always like, nice, the true voice. I would never force anyone to come out, or I would never force anyone to drink, because I always respect their decisions, you know. Joking, why am I joking the way that I'm joking is because that's a learned behavior in itself. And I was like, yo, this is deeper. Like, this is deeper than what I thought it would have been. So, yeah, guilt tripping.
You grew up with it.
Literally.
Grew up with people doing it to you.
I think you still get guilt tripped. Do you still get guilt tripped by your parents?
100%. What are you on about? That's never going to end.
I was just like curious, like, do people still get guilty?
Listen, our parents, I think they're too old to learn something new. I think that's what it is.
Or maybe they just don't want to.
Yeah.
Because they are very, like, stubborn as well.
I guess being stubborn has got to them to where they are.
Resilient, I guess.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes people are set in their own ways, and also our parents did not have as much exposure to other community and other society as we did. You know, in this day and era where internet is literally in the palm of your hand, but also they did not have as much education. They did not get to go to a lot of countries and mingle with people from other communities.
Yeah.
So I think the way they grew up, they probably survived by being resilient and by being stubborn. And I think they're just set in their own ways. And to be honest, in their age, when everything's worked out for them so far, why would you?
Exactly. I can't imagine when I'm older, I would not like it myself. Because I tend to be stubborn, like, most of the times, I know. Where it's needed, I'm just like, no, I'm right, Kalke. That I am open to options that are romantic, I hear them out, but that doesn't mean I necessarily agree with them, you know?
Yeah.
So we obviously have those things. So obviously I'm a parent, so they have it times two, and plus the non-educational background, and them being like, I've done so much for these little shits, Kalke. That entitlement as well, which they have. Like, you can't really say they didn't. Like, they did, you know.
The thing about our parents is that they also grew up in the community where there's a lot of age hierarchy. Yeah, the
This is
skin
banging,
nice,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, so there's age hierarchy. So they were taught to respect and not question elders and the status quo and the values of the community. And they some kind of expect us to do the same, but they also forget to understand is that they took us out of that society and they brought us up in a very different environment to what they grew up in. And obviously we're gonna have different values to what they have. I think especially in the UK it can go two ways. One, we can get very modern. Two, people try and hold on to their
Cultures
values,
and
even more because they think it's getting lost, and it's being done in a very bad way. Yeah. There can always be a hybrid like us, who have our Western values but also who have our culture values.
I mean, that's why this podcast sort of exists, I guess, because we're trying to make like a cohesive a middle ground for people who can relate to either side of the society. Yeah.
I consider myself that I've had the best of both worlds, and you probably think the same. I think we've had this conversation before.
We've had this. Like, I feel like I almost feel like a chameleon sometimes, because you get along on either side. So it's like, we're like the millennial kids.
Yeah.
So like there's a Gen Z generation, whatever. But then you sort of like get along with people who are born in the 70s as well.
Yeah.
But you get along with younger kids as well. So I feel like us as a middle ground is where our cultural values and middle ground is as well. Okay?
Yeah.
Because we pretty much live half of life in Nepal, right? Or like in a Nepalese environment. So we grew up with that, but we are westernized in a way. We adapted the good things, not just saying, like very...
We're open to it. We're just not shut. This is my value. I am not going to let go of it. This is not.
I very much agree. I think Dr. Supriya, when she came here last time, she said the sentiment that how this whole culture thing are being segregated because of some political values and stuff. But despite the fact that they want to protect the Kirat culture, there has been like dispute and stuff, which is very...
God, don't even talk about politics in the Nepalese community.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, some people go preserving to the extreme that they start saying village to village type. Okay, I don't think that is really necessary, to be fair. As long as you identify as Gurung, you identify as Rai, Mogar, and then say, oh, these are our traditions, I think you can leave it at that, in my opinion. I know.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, like, because like Mogar and Gurung people, they have similar outfits, right?
Yeah.
So it's just the potuka that's different. But in traditions, there are vast different. Okay. So those things I would love to preserve if I was like, Mogar or Gurung. I am Gurung, but it's not.
If I was Mogar Gurung, did you forget?
Yeah, no. I had to forget. I forgot that I haven't told them that, like I am from Gurung type of community. Or have I mentioned it before? I'm not quite sure. But that's the point. Like I wouldn't mind telling them like Gurung people do this, that, one it up. But not in an extent like isolating way. Like we are a part of a garden. This is us, but we are in the same garden kind of thing. Why are we dividing? Okay, this doesn't make sense right now.
No. I get what you mean. And I think, in a way, having a tight-knit community is good because, like, back home, this sentimentality there, wow. The sentiment of belonging to a community, not even back home, for every human, the sentiment of belonging to a community is so much needed.
Yeah.
Because that kind of fuels your well-being, your mental health. In a way, and back home I think that's how they survived back in the past because it was your Gao who supported you, it was your Gao who helped you, it was your toll who helped you, no? But at the same time, why can't your toll, your Gao, your community be extended? Why do you have to restrict it? like extend it. The same sentiment, it's a very good sentiment. Just extend it to somebody else.
Yeah, like my friend recently got married to a black man, and when she was welcomed to the family, they were like, your family is ours, our family is yours, and they're so happy to, like, you know, I'm so glad you accepted my boy type, okay? But we felt the other way around it. They're like, you've accepted my woman, like our girl, like she's with you, okay? So it was just like, why can't we be open like that? Like, you know, it just, I was like, had like a ting a moment. Okay, why aren't we as welcoming as that? Like, obviously they probably thought, like, you know, it'd be great, like, if he got married to the same race, like, it'd be convenient, but convenience doesn't mean like diversity. Convenience doesn't mean like you find. So basically in my head it's like you go to Asda and you just select the best fruits that's in Asda. You're not either looking at anywhere else, but coming back to the community entitlement and the same village, same thing or sentiment, we all were having conversations in the house. It's just like, why are numbers so important? So numbers, if you're not from Gurkha household or a Gurkha community, numbers is essentially the people who
same batch of recruitment.
There you go, thank you. More defined English terms there. Same batch of recruitment that basically our dads went through it. And I said that to my dad, like, why is it so important? Because he was like, oh, you have to invite numbers, you know. And then he went like, that was my family when my family wasn't there. And that was so deep. But
it is true. And when sometimes, like, our parents don't overshare this, like, so basically, yes, our parents constantly remind us of their struggle. And that if you have noticed, they will never sit down with you and tell you the nitty gritty of it. This is how I notice it. My dad, in all these years, only in one occasion, he's told me he was drunk and he told me the story and he was crying as he was telling me this. So basically he was not like, but he was like, he had tears coming down his eyes as he was telling. So apparently when they were first recruited and they were training in Hong Kong, you know, when you're from Gao, you have a different appetite. You have a different appetite. So when you're taken to Hong Kong to a British camp and you're being fed bread and all that, it's not going to be enough for them. So apparently I think people, I wouldn't say stole, but I think they overate food or bread. And because of that one incident, they were so unali Guruji Vansanta, the senior who's actually training them, the Guruji took them out and then told them to lie down on top of a gutter, you know, the Thulo Nala, on top of a big gutter. They told them to lie down on the gutter like this, and then it was supposedly called, the punishment supposedly called bridge, right? So the Guruji would walk on top of them. But literally, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
So they would,
so
like,
oh, and he would
right? He would walk on top of them and saying, oh, when is this bridge going to topple? When is it? So he would walk back and forth while they were, you know, like on the floor, just
hardcore core exercise.
Hardcore core exercise, and not like, imagine what, like my dad said most of them were crying because I don't think they've ever had to live through that sort of humiliation before.
Torture as well,
and you know, self-esteem because you're being humiliated. You're not even being treated like a human then. And I think that's why they consider Namaris so dear to them, okay? Because they've been through that sort of torture, they've been through that sort of training together. And I'm pretty sure they were probably each other's therapists then.
No,
the bond is just
100% agree. My dad's name in the army is Bhangre, so everyone knows him as Bhangre. Okay.
What's a Bhangre?
So basically, there's a reasoning. So my dad was the most untidiest person ever. Okay, like you know, like in the army, you've got to wear shirt, iron belted, everything.
Iron belted, and when we were growing up, my dad used to make us fold the socks in army way. Do you know what the army way is?
What is?
You basically put two paired together. I still do it, but not to that extent. I still have the habit of doing that. So you put the two socks together and you fold the top part inside, and the fold has to be 6 inches.
Okay, I don't do the 6 inches part, but I literally do what you do.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I think I learned that from my parents, and I never knew that was called the army way. Okay, but anyhow, I do that. But anyways, Babate, he's very like very too chill, casual. Okay, I guess that's where I get it from. Because obviously my shirt is not ironed, as you can tell. I never buy things that needs ironing, for various reasons, you know. So genetics goes a long way, guys. And he was called Bangre, and why? And he basically didn't clean up after himself, right? So he was not like, he's got OCD, but not in a way like things have to be folded neatly. As long as it's out of his sight, he doesn't have a problem. So he used to shove everything in the cupboard, checking around. That's how he got the name Bangre, because he was just very too casual, never titiko, and up to this date, like my cousin, he's got kids now, and then they just call him Bangre Bazi, so that's just been passed on. So he was like, basically my true Baba said he didn't know how to fold clothes, do nothing on it, and then basically he was taught in the army to do that. So it's just like you learn basic life skills there when you're just, because you're from a village, right? You're literally thrown into circumstances. Village man, not necessarily you got many clothes to fold,
That one cloth whose hole has been patched 10 times. What you want about many clothes?
So like he's just never had the experience and luxury to, fold clothes and keep it in the closet. So he never really thought that was important, And everyone else was like, had to teach him that, okay, you need to fold clothes, the basic life skills like that. So he still says like, oh, this person taught me. And then every time like his friends come over, or like two Babas-in-law come over, they always tell that story and say, he didn't know how to do these things, we had to teach him. And it's quite cute, but it's just sort of makes you think like, how young were you that you had to go to places like that?
Very young. My dad was recruited at 16. Not even 16. He lied about his age.
Yeah,
he lied about his age. He went to recruitment at 15, and I think he put his age down as 16.
I remember this recruitment story. My friend's dad is a Singapore police, so he's an inspector, and he retired as an inspector, I believe. Yeah. So you'd have to like touch, like the medical pass. So apparently uncle broke his arm, so he couldn't really touch like this. So it was like this on one side, and then Orgo side says So you know what he did to pass? Yeah. So he did both okay. So it looked like it had the illusion like
symmetrical.
Yeah. So that's how we got in there. And then he so proudly always says it. He's like, you guys don't know how I got into Singapore Police. I did this.
We need a whole podcast. This is just podcast. We need a whole podcast on army stories.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like we need to bring one of the uncle. Whoever. Yeah. If you have an uncle in mind who would actually openly speak
about the struggles,
please do let us know. We would love to have our Nepali uncle and even aunties to come through if they're willing to, because they tend to be a bit shy now. Hamur reach man say uncle aunties, they're a bit shy. So if you got anyone who is out there willing to talk about it, then please send them our way.
Exactly. But those struggles are where the guilt tripping comes from. It's that where it broiled and like born. I mean, I'm not saying that our parents, whatever struggle they describe is over exaggerated. I'm not saying that. It's exactly how it is. But sometimes I also feel like they are slightly jealous of how we got to live our life.
100%.
The irony is that they gave us this life, they struggled so that we could have a good life, but also they hold a slight resentment that our life was easier, and like it comes through in sentences like तिमीहरूलाई दुःख भनेको थाहै छैन, or like तिमीहरूलाई दुःख गर्नै आउँदैन, सक्दैनस् तिमीहरू दुःख, it's almost like, why did you have a good life? Like, it's almost like comparing their growth, the way they grew and the way that we grew, and holding it comes through in is as well, bringing us to the UK, making us speak English, Nepal pani paying so much money so that you could learn English in a boarding school, and then later on telling us, why don't you know your language?
Yeah.
And I'm like, mate, you can't teach me one thing and then expect something else out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. When you said
तिमीलाई दुःख गर्नै आउँदैन दुःख बुझेकै छैनस् तिमीहरूले.
I get the point. Their physical labor, yes, we didn't do what they had to do. I mean, my mom not so much, but my dad, like, you know, they said chapal ma dulo theo, and then we did all of that. Like, we had to stick our chapal with like, you know, all sorts of things. We've all heard that before, right? If not your parents, your grandparents, they've said it. But who's going to talk about the mental burden that we hold? We've got their traumas and the traumas they went through that has been passed down to us by birth, and the excess baggage that they torment us through, like verbally, and our own traumas as well, okay? Like, we obviously feel like we owe it to them the most of the time. Like, I don't know about you, but I feel that. Like, even on my graduation, I was like, I need to do this because I owe it to them. Like, why is there the sense of, okay, like, why do you owe it to someone?
I used to think that quite a lot, you know. I used to think that quite a lot. And that was one of the main reasons why I went through depression. I went through mental breakdowns. And I think I should just stop using depression because I don't feel like I'm depressed anymore. But still, you know, I have mental breakdowns every now and then. I have better hold of it. But I used to think that a lot. And that was one of the main reasons. Because I don't think they understand the pressure of expectation. The expectation to perform and excel in things because your parents had put so much in it.
Yeah.
You know how athletes are like, I've worked so hard in it, so if I don't have the result, I'm going to break down type go. I think our parents are basically the coaches that invested so much in us so that we could excel in things, you know? And if you don't excel, or if you are not like A++ or A or B even, then there's a certain level of disappointment that they feel, and they don't hide it.
Yeah.
They don't hide it.
I think when you talked about like when I said owing it to someone, you said you were depressed. I feel the same way because I feel like my parents are so chill compared to other Nepalese parents, okay? And that's very true. Everyone knows that, I know. But I have this pressure of, because my parents were so chill, there's this pressure of, not from my parents, from these aunties and uncles and all my other relatives, like, what is Jyoti's daughter gonna do that she was never been hit? She's never been like, both of my parents have never hit me, basically. So how is the daughter going to turn out to be? There's another type, okay? So the pressure is not from my parents. The pressure is from the society that, like, I'm trying not to be a people pleaser, no. But when someone's just like waiting for you to fall, like I've said it in our other podcast, like, I'm scared to be a mother because there are people waiting for your child to fall. So they're like, you know, I guess that's where my trauma lies as well.
Anxiety. Yeah. Your anxiety, I think.
And then that was like a major breakdown for me at that time. I was just like, I have to perform, not for my parents, not for me, but for people who are waiting for me to fall, just to point finger at my parents.
Yeah. I think you become overprotective when your parents' name get connected to your behavior, right?
Especially, I think mom, I'm very sensitive when it comes to that. Like, I've literally broken friendships when they've said something bad about my mom.
Yeah.
It's actually crazy. Like, I think nothing has ever made me blood dark red than that. So, yeah, those were the times where actually really what people said about my parents made me more anxious and infuriated me more than what they said about me. Okay, and I think that's still like low key is still there because it's not gonna get out because you're just ingrained that so much as a child. You know?
I went through that. I think when I've been through that quite a lot. Once you've been through that quite a lot, at one point you become so comfortable that you don't even start caring about what they say. And I think you will honestly, Mary, like this will all pass. You will get out of it.
I mean, the reason why the podcast is here is probably that because imagine like I'm talking about my sex life in this podcast and they're like, oh, publicly, someone say
doesn't matter. Honestly, like with time, you will learn to navigate those kind of people and those kind of opinions very healthily.
Yeah.
Like the other day, my boyfriend and I were walking in town and we bumped into one of our relatives. So by now, whole Camberley community knows that Diwash and I are dating, and everybody just keeps asking us, oh, when are you getting married? When are you getting married? And my boyfriend and I are like, we laugh because he and I said this just a couple of days ago. It's like the whole world is talking about our marriage apart from us.
Yeah.
We're not even, we're gonna go at our speed. And we bumped into a relative and they were like, oh, when are you two getting married? And then we literally, I think Divas has become better at handling these questions as well. And I said to the woman, oh, auntie, not auntie, Bode, it was my Bode. Oh, Bode, yeah, you'll probably get invited to a baby shower before we get married. And then Divas was like, yes, we're going to have baby shower, wedding, everything all at the same time. You don't need to come to 3 parties. You'll come to just one party.
I love it.
I just love how, when you've been together so long and you've learned things from each other and you're like, we're fucking one team. Don't come at me, girl. Like, it was so funny. Yeah.
I think our family, now the next one in line to get married is my sister. And then after her comes me.
Yeah.
So my classic dialogue has been like, oh, but I just go like, get a husband, and then they just shut up because obviously there's a lot of difference.
By the way, I don't believe in this palo, you're Nepali. Okay?
Exactly, that's why I did the whole quotation mark. Because you can do whenever you want to get married, if you want to, that is. And then
I took the last.
No, take it. And then they're like, Koili beg or so, and I'm just like, beg udin ma. Like, when's your wedding? On my wedding day.
Never know. I might be a lesbian by the time
I'm technically I'm married to food, so find me a better commitment than that, then I'll marry straight away. Like I've said that here, I've said that to everyone, but my classic dialogue is quite big on you, like when are you getting married? On my wedding day. So that's true in another.
Yeah.
Like, can you just tell? They can't be like you're wrong because that's what it is. Oh God,
some people don't like smart answers.
Yeah, and they think I'm very over smart, I tell you, because I'm very like mouthy. Over
smart.
Yeah, I'm very mouthy. Like, I think I have like mouthy replies. Like I'm witty, I guess.
Yeah.
And they don't really like witty people. Yeah.
But you have I don't think you come across as. I've seen you interact with my mom.
Yeah.
I don't think you come across as a rude mouthy.
Yeah.
But I think you just literally say it back, but in a humorous way.
I think I'm just so much banter, yeah.
Yeah. I think you give it back to them, but in a humorous way, which is exactly the way I think you should, because these comments, you just have to take it lightheartedly.
Exactly. I think at this point, it doesn't really affect me as much like it used to, Paila. Like, I think as a teenager, especially, I had a lot of pressure in me because, like I said, I grew up really quicker than I should have. So I'm always older than my age.
Yeah.
So when I was a teenager, I guess I was living the early 20s life. So I was just very hard on myself. But I just don't really care.
Like, you know what we are? We are like, I wouldn't say late bloomer. I think somewhere in a late bloomer, we matured too fast.
Yeah.
We matured too fast to not
enjoy
grow
the
up as a child.
I was telling this to my therapist as well. Like, she was like, tell me when you were a child. Like, she wanted to tell my life step. And I told her, I know for a fact that until 8 or 9 years old, I was a child. After that, I don't. And she was like, wow, you really grew up, like, as an adult. And I was like, yeah, I guess I did. So my teenage years weren't like Oruka teenage years. Like, like, I didn't have that phase. Like, my teenage relationships were actually quite serious, So I think I'm having that missed out phase right now. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm actually being a 27-year-old, how a 27-year-old should be acting.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's been a pause. And I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I 100% believe it. I think I didn't get married until I am like 34 now, because I am so busy catching up with what I lost.
Yeah.
That I don't feel ready to get married. If I had lived like what a normal child should have grown up like, I would have probably been married and have a couple of kids by now. But
that actually grosses me out. I'm really sorry.
What do you mean grosses me out?
No, the thought of having kids, like, by 34. Like, my friends are getting married, and they get married at 27. They get married left, right, and center.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm happy, good for you, but I'm just like, I'm not there yet, bro. Like, I don't even see myself getting married in the next 5, 6, 7 years.
Nah, we've spoken, and with like Diwash and I had talks, and I think you guys will probably see me pregnant in the next couple of years. I'll probably do a podcast with my belly that's like hanging out.
I've told them, like, I'll babysit the child until they start speaking. After that, say, don't come to my door. I love
talk
babies.
About my unborn child like that.
Yeah, I'm volunteering.
Yeah, you're volunteering. I don't care. You'll be like forcefully volunteered even if they start talking. What are you on about?
I do love kids. Everywhere I go, I just like attract them in a nice way or in a bad way. They always come to speak to me. Yeah. I always make sure I speak to them. So I'll be an okay aunt, I guess. I'm just saying.
Mate, I just want you guys to be a rich aunt to my children.
Oh, fuck that. Okay, that's good, because that means I'm rich, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good, that's fine. Whatever they want, mate. I'm gonna... Okay, so this is how bad the guilt trip is, right? So when we were younger, me and Manaslu, we were obsessed with Barbie dolls, okay? We were like crazy obsessed, okay? I don't know why. Like, we used to cut their hair, dye their hair, make a pool out of, like, the things where you do washing and stuff.
You guys got Barbie dolls?
Yeah, we were like spoiled.
I hardly got any dolls.
I'm telling you, we were spoiled. Like,
I was honestly like, you go ahead. I'll tell you how deprived I am. It's my time to talk about my struggles.
Do you know, like, I guess you're the middle child, so that itself, it's worse already. Yeah. So, like, I think like, every middle child feels they're deprived.
Middle child, and on top of that, a girl child. That's like the double disadvantage that I was born with.
Yeah, I guess, to be fair, I feel like if my mom wasn't my mom, my life would have been really different. I feel like
if your mom had been a typical Nepali mom.
Yeah, the reason why we had a childhood like that is because of my mom. I have to give like huge credits to that. And I always feel like no one can ever top it off. I know everyone's mom's greatest, but I really truly believe that, like, I really cannot top what she done, okay? So basically we were obsessed with Barbie dolls. Ani, she made sure that we got Barbie dolls, okay? But we had to earn for it though.
Yeah.
She'd be like, you come your position, Bitra, and then I'll give it to you. You earn 80% and I give it to you. There was always terms and conditions, as always.
Yeah.
And then Barbie dolls we would get on birthdays and stuff like that. So it wasn't like we just got it out of the market. So that means, like, at least even if you perform bad, you'd get one Barbie doll a year, because on your birthday you get it, right? Yeah. And then the fact that I had a sister as well. So she'd get one and I'd get one. So we'd have at least 2 new Barbies a year, basically.
To play with,
Yeah. So we were obsessed with Barbies and we wanted Barbie doll house so bad. So bad. We went Bhatbatini. So Bhatbatini was very new at that point. So it's basically like Tesco's, but, like it was like expensive stuff, right?
Yeah.
We went Bhatbatini. We saw the Barbie doll house. It was yay big. And we were like, okay, that's it. We're getting it if we get this percentage, but it was like ridiculous thousand money, yeah. Then back then.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And we
of
were
money,
like, okay, when dad comes, mom was like, oh, okay, when dad comes, we will buy it. So she always put terms and condition, but she never bought it for us, right? Because I guess they thought it was useless, that you rather use the money for something else. But me and Manasa still feel so sad about it, yeah. Even to this day. So we're like, whoever has a baby girl first, either you or my child, we're gonna buy them a Barbie doll house, yeah. So that's like how our parents, yeah, so that's like how parents say, like, oh, I got you things that I couldn't have, okay. So I guess that's Maya and Manaslu's, I'm getting you things that I couldn't have, okay. So whoever's like getting the first baby girl or a boy who wants to play, you get a Barbie doll house.
It's funny how those little tiny moments shape your values that you're gonna live and will fulfill all your life, right?
Exactly. Like, it's so small, but I think it's the fact that we wanted it so bad and we actually worked hard for it, and we never got it neither. So it's just like,
it's the moments that impact you so much.
Yeah.
And also the fact that you never got it. It's like there's a sense of unfulfilled wish that you want to make sure you fulfill when you're capable enough.
Yes.
You know?
But that, I think, was
it's the luxury that you couldn't afford.
Exactly.
That's the common thing between our parents and us. It's the luxury. Doesn't matter whether it's their version of luxury or our version of luxury. It's the luxury that you couldn't afford.
Like, the fact that you had to go to Bhat Batini and you share a kid in Bhat Batini.
I've never been to a Bhat Batini.
Oh, girl, never. So basically Bhat Batini is like child heaven, okay? So the fact that I had, so basically
we
going
had
to Smith's.
Sailways.
So so Pokora had Sailways.
Yeah.
Kahuna had Bhat Batini. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So imagine going to Sailways and like there's a toy store, right?
Yeah.
So you saw all this stuff, okay? And then you're like literally picking more a second term behind, but I'll pass and I get that. Do you know? But you as a child was like such a child saving, like a person that you'd be like, oh, that's too expensive for my parents.
Exactly. That's where you become so conscious. You become conscious about your parents right from the child when you shouldn't have to be.
Exactly.
And also, the pressure to perform is there.
I know. So it's like you have to do this. If not, you're not gonna get it. And I'm actually quite privileged enough that I actually got rewarded.
Yeah.
Some kids didn't even get that.
Yeah.
It was like either you get this or you get beaten up. So we never had the beaten up option.
Yeah.
But the pressure to get what we want, to earn it, was there. And I'm actually quite, coming back to the Barbie doll story house, I'm actually quite glad they never bought us a Barbie doll house in a way, because that was a lesson for us. Like, in life, even if you want the things you want is so bad, sometimes you don't get it.
This post came up on Instagram, right? One of those motivational quotes and everything. And I could relate to it so much. It basically said, every family has a member that will break the chain of poverty.
Yeah, you sent it to us.
And I was like, I get it, because it doesn't necessarily mean like you're dirt poor, like in our parents' cases. So in our parents' cases, like my dad broke the chain of poverty because he got recruited in the army and he didn't have to live dirt poor. He could make sure that his children went to school, which he didn't get to. And then with us as well, living in the UK is a struggle sometimes, because you're like almost living hand to mouth sometimes. Like, tomorrow is payday, and I was looking at my pay slip earlier and I was like, I made another payment. But there's also this, right, that we lived in luxury compared to what they lived in. But also for us, our level of poverty is something else.
So we always have this thing, right? Like, sometimes they say like live in the moment, all in all, but you can't help
but
but you can't help that, to work hard, to strive to give another level of luxury to your kids, to send them to maybe boarding schools, to grammar schools, and live in a better postcode area, so they can have like better friends.
They can have a better start in life, to be honest.
However they're thinking, our parents thought about us, is how we are thinking about our future generation. So it's an ongoing cycle.
Yeah.
But the guilt trip needs to stop.
But I feel like our generation is a bit more self-caring than our parents' generation, though, because our parents are complete blind. They were taught, you live, you marry, you have children, you do everything for your family, you do not take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Our parents were that, and I applaud them for the self-sacrifice that they had to give, but also a little sad that they didn't take care of themselves enough.
Yeah. And
sometimes you will look, honestly, and sometimes you will go in and you will see that your parents have only a handful of clothes, that they wear it all the time, like in a cycle.
Repeat.
Whereas we are, like, at one point, I'm not even proud, so much into fast fashion, and still to a certain extent so much into fast fashion. Like, I honestly think we have owned more clothes than our parents have
in a lifetime.
And that kind of makes me feel sad sometimes, but also at the same time, this is the thing, right? This is a guilt trip. Oh, they sacrificed so much. So when you try to take care of yourself, it almost feels like selfishness.
Yeah. Like,
when it shouldn't.
Recently, me and my sister, we've been into self-care in terms of, not internally, like externally, going on pedicures, manicures and stuff like that, right? So when we told our mom, like, oh, we should go, like my dad as well, okay, we were like, let's make this a family thing, that we should go. And they were like, I'm not going to spend money on those things.
It's a waste of money, waste of time.
And I'm just like, bro, have you seen your toenail? Like, your toenail needs like chiropodist, like, you know, we need to go. And then they're just like, no, I'd rather do it at home, save some money.
Yeah.
But it's just, but then when they have to give money to someone, they just give like that.
No second thinking.
Yeah.
Wallet's out.
Exactly. And I'm just, it really is sad, because my mom and dad, they've like started to walk a lot lately, right? Because like health reasons and stuff. Yeah. And mom's just going for dad's company, and she has walking shoes, but it's not very light, okay? So technically she can afford. It's not like she doesn't have money, but she's like, boy, sorry, right? So type of guy.
I think unarko trauma is almost I was like, unarko trauma is like, I think they always live in constant fear that they don't want to get to a position back in the past where they couldn't afford to.
Yeah.
So they always have this saving for the rainy day. That's the most important part of it. Whereas for us, we didn't have to see the days where we didn't have money.
That is true.
Right now, we may not have, like, I'm talking about, you know, being broke at the end of month, but I consider myself temporarily broke because I can always have the luxury to go and work and earn more money.
Exactly.
It's not like I have to fight tooth and nail for it. Whereas their level of survival was something else.
Exactly.
And my mom even talks about days when they couldn't afford to eat, so they were eating like leftovers. And my mom talks about days when my mom couldn't afford to feed my sister, so she would break a packet of noodle rara into half, and she would feed half to her in the morning and then half to her. So I don't know what she ate.
I know. That's so
you know, yeah, exactly.
It's actually really sad, like, and the fact that they went through recession as well. Like, our generation, we never really had to go through recession.
Yeah.
Like, even if we did, we wouldn't know, okay? Because our parents never let us feel like we were struggling.
Yeah.
I remember, like, there were times when my mom was like struggling to send us to like this expensive school, okay? Like, because I went to an expensive school in Abanida, and she said, she basically said a few years ago actually that some months that she really struggled to pay the fees, okay? And then she had to like borrow from people, and then she really tried us to send us to like only cheaper schools, okay?
Yeah.
But once you have the level of luxury that you have, you don't really want to go to our school neither.
Yeah.
So me and my sister were just like, we ain't going anywhere else. But we did not understand that she was struggling. But she didn't want to.
You little brats.
She never told us that she was struggling either, okay?
Yeah.
So had she said, I really can't afford Manira, I feel like we would have understood.
Yeah.
But she never really said that I'm struggling, Manira. And then we were just like, why are we getting sent to other school? All my friends are here, you know.
I think I was different when I was a child. I think I was always a warrior, I guess, because I always lived my life as if I couldn't afford to.
Yeah.
Today, I did not know whether my parents could afford or not, but I always lived the way with this mind that we couldn't afford this.
Yeah.
So I always lived below my means, I guess. That's why I used to earn my own pocket money when I was 13. Like when I was 13, 14, as soon as I was physically able to do anything, I used to dance for money. It was only 14, 15 ma. And I used to earn my own pocket money, and I used to buy my own stuff. And that was, I guess, my first taste of independence, and it felt fucking good.
Yeah.
That's why at every chance I've got, I've always worked, and I've always earned my money, and I've always been self-sufficient. And even as a child, when I was 7, 8, I remember speaking to my best friend in school, oh, my dad has this many years left in the army, so I don't know how he's going to earn money after that.
Yeah.
And I knew not exactly, and I knew roughly how much pension he would get, and whether that pension was going to be enough to take care of the whole family. And I come from a big family, so we're 4 siblings, right? 4 siblings, and on top of that, we were taking care of one of our cousins. So we literally, my mom and dad probably just raised 5 and paid for 5 children.
Yeah.
And when you're having to divide among 5 of you, you're always conscious about, is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough?
I think what you had was what my mom had. So it's like, I'm the second generation. So how you're going to raise your child is basically how my mom raised me. Because my grandparents, they were dirt poor. So basically my granddad's parents, basically they passed away when they were really young. So my granddad had to basically get into the army when he was 13 years old, and he married a major Koshori.
Oh, bless
so
him.
he married like a bougie woman at that time. It is true. Like she was so bougie that if her dad said something, things would have been done for her in minutes. Okay? She never had to work in her entire life. So the fact that she came from a house to a small room, rented room, where the kitchen, dining, everything was in that room.
Yeah.
And from that,
I always wondered, like, how does that happen? Because, you know, when marriages are arranged in our community, they always look for somebody of like equal status.
That was love at first sight, Nita.
Oh my god!
So basically, my granddad was performing in this
don't
army.
Tell me, this bougie of a woman left everything for her love.
No, basically, granddad begged for this bougie woman. And then he fell in love with him as well, I guess. So, but my great granddad didn't want to give his bougie daughter to him, of course. I'm just calling my grandma bougie. Like, she is bougie. She's so high maintenance. Even to this day, I'm not even telling you, she doesn't lift a finger. And my granddad's 80 years old. Like, even to this day, he does everything for her. Like, honestly. And then he got rejected 3 times. Anyway, it's a long story. But the fact that I think he had to go through all the hardship, like how you were raised and how you had cousins growing up, that was my mom, my mama, and then all my aunties and uncles, because they basically adopted everyone to go to school together. So they raised, I think, 5 kids or 6, but they only had 2 of their own. So in Kathmandu, it's pretty expensive and you got mouths to feed, you know. So yeah, like I get it. Like how you raise your child is pretty much how my mom raised us. So I can understand your sentiment as well. I mean, I can empathize with it. I can't really understand it. Because
can't relate to it.
Exactly. It's another extreme.
And that's a very honest thing to say, to be honest. And I think I wish people could not use the word relate and understand so lightly.
Lightly.
It's one thing saying, oh, I empathize with you, but I cannot relate to what you went through.
Because I cannot.
So that's the most honest answer that people can give me.
Because I don't know what it feels like to be a middle child. Because being a middle child is already a crisis in itself. And the fact that you were a middle child with your brother and you had the gender discrimination and the fact that you had to share everything you ate with your cousins and 4 of your siblings, that's another story. And the fact that you had a younger sibling as well.
I think what was harder as well was because there was not much age gap between me and my brother.
Yeah.
If we had age gap, then maybe I would have had a little bit of chance of being spoiled when I was her youngest. Because they were so into chora paunu parcha, we need a son to continue our line of family. They rushed into getting pregnant, and I didn't even breastfeed for like 6 months.
That's
because
so
she
sad.
got anyway, let's not get into that level of trauma.
I mean, I'm glad that my parents got me straight after they got my sister, because it was just the 2 of us. I guess that was a lot easier than your childhood as well, because it's just the 2 of us. So we didn't get along when we were kids, but after that practically we became friends.
Yeah.
And we're still friends. Well, hopefully we'll still be friends in the future. We still got to buy that Barbie doll house. But yeah, like obviously we all had our own level of struggles. And I guess we always will. Yeah. And this is inevitable.
It will. And I don't know how many people know Humble the Poet. He always talks about the guilt that we grew up with because we were given what our parents didn't have, and the pressure to perform, and it's constant. Just like how we are fighting between the 2 cultures of East and West, this is also the constant fight between keeping in mind that you came from a struggle background and your parents came from a struggle background and they invested you a lot and you owe them some level of accountability, but also
you've got to still live your life, and your children's are okay. Like I feel like after we get married and after we have kids, our struggle is going to be like, do I invest all my time and energy in my child, who is the future of my life, or do I look after my parents?
This is what I feel like. My boyfriend still struggles with finding the balance between self-care and selfishness, because he always, whenever he talks about, because we went to uni with like student loan and everything, whereas he went to uni at international pay rate, which is 3 times, but his dad paid off everything, and he always talks about the struggle that his dad had to go through to pay for him, and now that he's earning so much, he feels like he needs to give it back. And I always tell him, like, yes, your parents went to struggle and it was very, we should always be grateful for them, and we will do the same, but when they cannot take care of themselves. I think what's important for us to remember is that our parents took care of us when we couldn't. So we need to repay that when they can't take care of themselves. But in the middle, when you're independent, when they're independent, I think we should both focus on living our own lives, so that that's some level of self-care that you give to you are entitled to, right?
And
you deserve it.
And then enjoy that phase of your life as you should. Like how I'm enjoying being a 27-year-old Mary, current present. Like I'm just at my present life.
Exactly.
So I feel like everyone should at least. This is so sad that we are saying at least once in the lifetime have that phase. Just to themselves. Like our parents go phases right now. Because when they were younger, they were providing for us and their parents. So this is the phase where they essentially haven't got to look after anyone.
Go and spend your hard-earned money, man. Like we'll take care of you. But they also, parents, some level of self-esteem, some level of, they have always been independent. Nobody took care of them, so they had to be independent. So sometimes depending on us for something becomes so hard for them.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
You haven't noticed?
Yeah, so it's just
so
like
hard for them.
basic things. Like,
When my parents live in Nepal for a few months, they're completely different to what they live in here. Okay?
Yeah.
Here they have to depend. Even reading us one letter that gets delivered to the home, they have to ask me for my time.
Exactly.
And I don't think that's any more heartbreaking. Like, imagine you having to depend on somebody else to do minor things. Okay?
Exactly. And we get so annoyed. Do you know, like, now we are talking all this, and yeah, we know in reality it's like, what's he going to?
Yeah,
like, you know, like my dad, for example, right now he's like appointments, man, like, and he's sending screenshots. Okay, I'm like, I'm busy now. I'll come back to it later. I will do it. Like, very that ruko. You know, like, you have a different tone.
Sometimes you feel guilty about it, but also the fact that they need to communicate it better as well.
Exactly.
Though I think, you know what, we need to work on this communication, because I am guilty of snapping at my parents when, you know, certain times when you have an appointment tomorrow, don't tell me tomorrow at 8 o'clock when your appointment's at 9 o'clock.
Exactly.
Tell me a week in advance so that I can take my day off, so that the stress of doing things for you is minimized.
Exactly. About that, what you just said, we've actually sort of come across with this communication solution for now. Because obviously dad doesn't speak, so we had to find a middle ground to, you know, for everyone to talk without, you know, him feeling left out. So it was me who made the group chat. Coming from me, okay, that's a lot. Like, that is a lot of progression from last year, I hate my dad, to let's make an effort. Yeah. And so everything happens in the group chat. So every time someone has an important thing to say, because you don't really meet your family members most of the time during the day, like, you miss each other. So just put it on there.
Yeah.
Like, for example, tomorrow there's no internet. I just screenshot them an email saying tomorrow there's going to be roadworks, so there's no internet in the house.
Yeah.
So at least they know, rather than
texting you 10 times.
Like, you know, like, oh God. So yeah.
See, that shows that we can actually invent ways. Like, you know, if both generation is open-minded, you can come to a middle ground. To make things better. You know, you don't really have to be irritated at your parents' every request, or they don't have to, like, you know, have to anyway. Yeah, there can definitely be a middle ground, and I think it's this generation is, you know, the funny thing is, sometimes your parents will talk shit about you when you're trying to deal with all these generational curses. And, you know, I've said that as well. I don't think they understand our struggle, which they should a bit more. But also I think the communication is just so bad between the two generations.
It's just so bad because we got exposed to so many things, whereas their life was very simple in terms of not having this glitz and glamour stuff. Okay?
Yeah.
So we all faced different kind of struggles. Like I said, their struggles may have been physical, but our struggles are stimulated in a lot of things than just physical struggles. Yeah. We've got mental
it's
struggles.
Hard to see with your eyes our struggles.
And it can't be scaled up either, okay? Because their struggles are like, but our struggles is just something else, you know.
You know, when my parents used to complain, I always told them this one line, and I said, तपाईको दुःख तपाईलाई ठुलो हुन्छ, मेरो दुःख मलाई ठुलो हुन्छ. तपाईले त मेरो दुःख सानो भन्न पाउँदैन, मैले तपाईको दुःख सानो भन्न पाउँदैन. So which roughly translated is like, your struggle is yours, my struggle is mine. They're just as big to each other. So you cannot undermine my struggles, and then I shouldn't undermine yours. And I think that is when my parents started respecting my level of difficulties. And I think, I'm not gonna say my parents are stubborn. They're still stubborn in some ways.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have seen them grow. But at the same time, I had to struggle, and I had to initiate, and I had to fight so that they could see my perspective.
It's not easy. Like, when everyone's when everyone's been through like your parents are so chill, and yeah, to some extent
that's the thing. You have to.
I worked pretty much hard for it. They're like, oh, how come your parents let you out too late? Like by the Zandinso. Well, it started from when I was a fucking teenager. Like, did you miss out on the whole part that I had to grow up so quickly?
Yeah.
Like
when you had to hear shit from your parents because you wouldn't live like any other person.
Bro, like, come on.
We have that level of freedom because we fought. Choking on my own strawberry. Because we fought for it.
Exactly.
And in fighting that, there was so much guilt. There was so much heartbreaks. There was so much pain.
So many emails.
Like, don't even go there, honestly.
It's just, I think I am like a mild walking trauma to my parents. Yeah, I would see like, what's going to happen now? But
any young generation out there who are having this constant guilt of hurting your parents when they've done so much for them, I think you need to understand that you need to fight for your own self-care. If your parents are being unreasonable, you need to fight it. And if you feel guilt, process it. If you feel heartbreak, process it. We have all been through it. You, as we already said, your fight starts right at home. You don't even have to go far.
Exactly.
So, your parents will talk shit about your behind while you're trying to break their generational curses, their generational traumas. And so you have to basically fight for you. And you have to also understand that your parents are not perfect. They have their own flaws as well, but also respect their things. But if they try and encroach on your self-respect and on your independence, fight for it. Guilt, heartbreak, you'll all process it. You know.
It's inevitable. Like, it's gonna come either way. Like, you're probably gonna make your children feel guilty. That's just how it's gonna be, because you've never really healed from your traumas in the past, right? Because traumas, healing, therapy, that's just, I feel like it's a lifelong cycle.
Lifelong.
It's there forever. It's just how you deal with it, right? So happy happy trying to understand your parents. Happy fighting. May Lord
struggle,
whatever food, whatever gives strength to you.
Without heartbreak, without pain, change the
there is no rainbow without rain.
Exactly.
It's pretty much as cringy as it is, it's very true. So I hope this gave you a little boost and a little clarity and more of, okay, I'm on the same boat as them, I'm doing okay, kind of what do you call that? So it's like basically me saying like a sister hand is
the
word.
The good thing
about a shoulder.
The one, I wouldn't say funny thing, but one advantage that one charm that Malaysia has, because we've had best of both culture, is that you literally translate Nepali saying into English, right?
Do you know,
and
like,
it's not funny, it's a charm. Like, I find it cute.
If you ever have come across like Synergy's subtitles in the past, the reason why I don't do it anymore is because Didi doesn't have time for it, and every time I do it, it's just literal translation.
And I make fun of it, like, Malaysia, what did you mean to try? Did you mean to try this?
Yeah.
And she's like, yes.
So I just don't see the point. So we are trying to speak in English as much as we can.
No, but that's the beauty of having grown up with two cultures and two languages,
I guess
right?
So.
We're a hybrid. We have to embrace that. We're a hybrid. I don't care.
But it's just funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I hope this podcast was like a shoulder for you to lean on and come back to ever so often, like a journal on your diary that you ever so come back to often, and sometimes listening to the same thing on a different mindset, you hear another perspective of it. So hopefully this will be that one for you. And thank you so much for supporting us so far. And if you haven't noticed, our we've got video on Spotify now from this episode. From last episode actually. So you can see our beautiful faces on Spotify if you're like on the road. Please, I do not recommend, but but yeah, we do have video on Spotify. And if you're curious, like I'm Sachi or if you're from YouTube, yeah, do go. And you can give our podcast a like and rate on Spotify. So please, if you'd give like 5 stars, that would be brilliant. If you can't give 5 stars, then 4 would be great as well.
Yeah, please, like, don't just come to me or us while you're drunk and be like, I love Synergy. Like, you know, show the same level of support and same level of enthusiasm while you're sober in our DMs.
And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any other podcast, please go to our channel synergy.studio, SINERGI STUDIO studio. I hope you can spell that by now. And then just give us a thumbs up or subscribe or whatever you like it. And yeah, that would be a great way of interaction of what you like to hear, because we can't really figure out until we actually hit numbers, to be fair.
We can't cater for you if you don't tell us what you want us to cater to you.
Exactly, just like our vibrators tell us.
Communication, guys. This has to be 2 ways.
Yeah. Thank you very much for dealing with us, bearing with us, and listening to our beautiful voices.
I think this has gone from self-esteem to like cockiness.
I'm really done speaking about us here, because I can't promote shit. So see you on the next one. Bye.